So there is a net gain for Israel in that. And the only country that still does not accept the Arab Peace Initiative is Israel.
Obviously, you can understand that the Israelis have some reason to worry about their security interest. You know what resulted in Gaza. How does the Arab world and the rest of the world guarantee in some way or allay their security concerns?
That's the reason why people are seeking peace. You know, this Arab Peace Initiative is a means of waging peace rather than waging war. The Arab world has crossed the Rubicon of trying to drive the Israelis into the sea. From 1948 until the 2002 Arab Peace Initiative, there was that contention, and in some cases legitimate, that the Arabs did not accept Israel as a neighbor and would like to see the people of Israel ejected from the area.
And will make sure that those within, whether it's the Gaza Strip or neighboring countries, are not a place or do not do everything they can to make sure that there are not attacks against Israel.
One of the ironies of the present situation in Gaza, for example, is that Hamas, which is considered by Israel as a terrorist organization, is guarding Israel from rocket launches by offshoot extremist groups in Gaza. So what does that tell you? It tells you that Hamas considers that action of throwing rockets at Israel is wrong. It's against their interest. And they have entered into ceasefire agreements, indirect and otherwise, with Israel that they have held since the last
but the agreement between Fatah and Hamas did not seem to reach the level of fruition they hoped.
Well, we all hope that fruition will come about because I think there are imperatives on the Palestinians to come together. It is totally unacceptable that there should be a government in Gaza and a government in the West Bank. The Palestinians can't afford to have that. And the means of achieving that is the agreement that they signed.
Your government has influence. You know? I mean, could your government, if it wants, persuade those in Hamas and in Gaza to release the singular Israeli soldier they hold?
Your government has influence too. And could your government persuade Israel to release the 10,000 Palestinian prisoners in Israel? It is that kind of situation. You've got 10,000 people under incarceration in Israel, all of them Palestinians. Some of them are children, some of them are women, some of them are old people.
Some of them are charged with murder.
Well, those who are charged with murder will get their just deserts. But many of them are held without trial and without even accusation. And you have on the other side one soldier who was captured in a military operation by Hamas. So, which has moral imperatives more than the other? I think if your government is serious about Gilad Shalit, they would have pressured Israel to reach an agreement with Hamas that Hamas offered to release Gilad Shalit in return for the release of certain prisoners from these 10,000 that were held by Israel.
You have many, but you specifically because of the contacts you have. Is there any indication that Hamas is changing?
The fact that I told you Hamas is now, if you like, protecting Israel from rocket throwers and preventing those things from happening. The fact that they have declared publicly that they accept the PLO's leadership in negotiating for the West Bank and Gaza being independent.
And they're prepared to recognize the right of Israel to exist, to eliminate any words in their charter that suggest Israeli as a...
I don't think they have said so in so many words.
But you think they're prepared to? You think that...
Absolutely.
So I'm asking, do you, because you know the Arab world well, and you know the leaders, and you know the intelligence chiefs, and you know people, and you know the conversation, is Hamas changing beyond what you said so that they might very well be able to, in the interest of Palestinian statehood, be more dramatic than they have been?
Let me put it to you this way. You go back to 1993, okay? The PLO then had the same language in its charter that Hamas has in its charter about the removal of Israel from Palestinian territory, irredentist Palestinian claims on all of the territory that was historically Palestine, etc., etc., etc. And yet, because of the negotiations that took place at the time and the agreement of Oslo, those clauses from the charter of the PLO were removed.
So Hamas is prepared, maybe?
I believe that if Hamas is given the chance to be a partner in the peace process rather than a pariah or outside the peace process, that they can be convinced and persuaded to remove those things from their charter. But that's something hypothetical that I'm telling you now.
But it would be a very positive development.
Absolutely, for everybody.
Israelis also look to the following, and they say that Ehud Barak made lots of concessions with President Clinton and Yasser Arafat, and that Arafat was not prepared to take a deal that offered a lot of the things that Palestinians demand today. They also look at Prime Minister Omer, and they said he offered many of the things that the Palestinians wanted, and that it was not accepted by Abu Mazen.
And look at when they made those offers. Barak in 2000, and he lost the election 3 months after the Camp David Accords were held. And Mr. Ehud Olmert in 2008, when he lost his position as the Prime Minister of Israel. Now, how can a Palestinian leadership agree to anything with a government that has fallen? Now, if Mr. Netanyahu today were to make the same offers, or at least to start his negotiations with the Palestinians from where the Olmert negotiations were ended, I think you can have a very substantive and very positive agreement between the Palestinians and Netanyahu.
So Mr. Netanyahu would make those kinds of arguments, those kinds of offers, and put those kinds of proposals on the table, then they might have negotiations and not have the statehood at the United Nations?
That's what Mr. Abbas has said.
I know.
He has said we've been trying to make these negotiations for a couple of years now, and we got nowhere.
The Arab Spring, how has it changed the region?
Let me start by saying that I am not calling it the Arab Spring.
Why not?
Because there is too much bloodshed. If you look from across Libya to even Tunis, Egypt, Syria, Yemen, Bahrain, there have been too many people killed. And to call that a spring-like condition, I think, is to be unfair to the rest of the Arab world.
But
look forward.
But who did the killing?
Arabs. Absolutely.
But governments more than...
What? Arab governments. And
so
is that spring-like?
It's a spring for the people who were looking for a fresh beginning in terms of dignity, in terms of an opportunity to influence their own destiny, in terms of the capacity to express their own political views.
All of that is correct, but I would give it time before I would call it spring. To see the benefits and the fruits of the sacrifice that was made by the people who were killed. Now, you come and tell me that this is a work in progress, I would agree with you. Whether it is in Egypt or in Tunis or in Libya or elsewhere in the Arab world, Syria, Yemen and Bahrain, and even in other countries. All of us have been affected by these events that started in Tunis. But it is still a work in progress. We still have to wait for the benefits. Economies have to be developed. Job opportunities have to be offered. Tourists have to start going back to visit places like the pyramids in Egypt or coast of Tunis, etc.
Are you prepared to say it's better for the people of Tunisia, it's better for the people of Egypt, it's better for the people of Libya that they've had the change that they have had?
It is not for me to say that. It is for the Egyptian people and the Libyan people to say that.
What do you think the majority of them would say?
I think they would say yes. We have shown that. I don't have to speak for them.
Right.
Look at the Tahrir Square, for example, and the demonstrations that took place in the millions. Look at the jubilation in Tripoli when the Libyan revolutionary forces entered. It's a popular sentiment that they expressed. So they have already shown where they stand on this issue. It is not for me, or respectfully, for you.
No, I agree with you. It's not for me to say that.
Yes.
And in fact, that's the way they wanted it.
Yes.
That was part of the nature of the revolt. It was not that we're doing this for ourselves in our country. We're not doing this for the United States or against the United States or against Israel or against Saudi Arabia. We're doing it for ourselves.
When the Egyptian events happened, it started in January 25th. Right. January 26th, I attended the Davos meeting in Davos, the World Economic Forum. And on January 27th, there was a Reuters reporter who asked me a question about events in Tunis and in Egypt and what that meant. And I said, in my response to that it means that the leaders of those countries have to listen to their people. Nothing controversial from my point of view about that statement. Immediately I said that. It was headlines in Egyptian newspapers, and people from the foreign ministry contacted our embassy in Egypt saying, why did he say that? Is that a view of the Saudi government? Is he supporting revolution in Egypt, and so on? It is exactly for that reason, I think, that we shouldn't either try to claim credit for what happened in those countries, or to lay blame on anybody.
Okay. I don't think anybody's trying to play. I mean, I think people generously give credit to the people who put their lives on the line.
Absolutely.
Those are the people who deserve the credit for this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And frequently people who are not necessarily political.
No. Many of them are not. Right. Thousands, millions.
So did the United States, by calling for the removal of Mubarak, whatever the exact words the president used, incur the disfavor of your government? And will you